Hi, I'm Alan Sagano. I'm the president of ADS Consulting Group, and today we're here to talk to you about DC shadow attacks. These are crazy scary, and it's a pretty big hole in Active Directory, and it's a common attack surface that hackers like to do. So the way this works is a hacker will basically will shadow a legitimate DC. So it'll basically impersonate an existing domain controller and then tell a legitimate domain controller, hey, can you make some changes on this account? And because DCs are supposed to replicate with each other, the legitimate DC goes, okay. And it does it. And one of the scary things here is an injection of what's called SID history into the legitimate DC. So the way this works is you shadow a DC, you trick it in the legitimate DC is tricked into communicating with the shadow DC. Then you say, hey, update this account and inject this SID history into this account. Now, if you're not familiar with SID history, it's a way that when you do cross-domain trusts, and this is where the exposure is, if you have trusted or trusting domains, you can inject something in. It doesn't show up in history, it won't show up in the logs, and they won't show up as a group membership, but it basically elevates that account to give them administrative privileges in the domain, and it's pretty scary. So there are some ways to mitigate this. I know that Semprus, which is a security solution, is one of the solutions that will throw off crazy alarm bells when this happens. Most SIMs will not catch this because it is pretty difficult to figure out. There are some things you can do to take a snapshot about this. If you are concerned about a DC shadow attack, a domain controller attack, and you should be, send an email to info@adscon.com. We can give you some additional information on how to identify if it's happened to you, as well as maybe setting up, if you're interested, a demo with Semprus, because they're one of the few companies that I'm aware of that is easily able to identify DC shadow attack, as well as do some other really cool things with Active Directory recovery and be able to granularly reverse changes that were made in Active Directory, which is not exactly easy to do. The way they do that, by the way, is Semprus records every transaction in a SQL database and then can basically back them out as if they didn't occur, which is pretty cool. Almost like an undo command, which is, if you make a boo-boo, is an awesome thing. So that's our point. Just be aware of DC Shadow. It is definitely an attack surface on Active Directory domain controllers. If you like this content, please hit that subscribe button. Thanks a lot for listening, and we'll talk to you soon.